Now here's a challenging topic. I think a lot of people have felt, whether it's something that is in the Bible, a command that you feel is impossible for you to follow, or whether it's something that you feel God has called you to do on an individual basis. It can be difficult when we feel like we've been asked to do something by God that is outside of our own capacity to actually do. And so I want to dive into a Bible passage that in just one short passage, it deals with the right way and the wrong way to deal with a situation where you've been given, told that you're going to be responsible to do something that seems like it's absolutely impossible. And that passage is right before the birth of Jesus and John the Baptist. The context here is Zechariah is one of the priests. His job is to serve in the temple, and he's going into the temple. Zechariah got chosen by lots, which is kind of like rolling a die or something like that, just a game of chance that he's the one that will go into the sanctuary. And so we have here, verse 11, while Zechariah was in the sanctuary, an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing to the right of the incense altar. Zechariah was shaken and overwhelmed with fear when he saw him, but the angel said, "Don't be afraid, Zechariah, God has heard your prayer. Your wife, Elizabeth, will give you a son, and you are to name him John." And then the angel goes on to talk a lot about John's ministry and how they're to raise him so that he's prepared for this ministry. The thing is that we see this, don't be afraid, and then we have this, God has heard your prayer. This means that Zechariah has asked for a son. He's wanted a son. Despite that, Zechariah says to the angel, "How can I be sure this will happen? I am an old man now, and my wife is also well along in years." He's saying, here's all the reasons why this seems impossible to me. And the angel responds, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the very presence of God. It was he who sent me to bring you this good news. But now, since you don't believe what I said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born. For my words will certainly be fulfilled at the proper time." So the lesson we might see here is don't ask questions when you hear something impossible. That's actually the wrong lesson. Is you're more than welcome to ask questions. And he asks, how is this going to happen? And the angel calls him out for disbelief. It's not because he asked questions, it's because of his disbelief. And we know this is the case because later on in this chapter, the same exact thing happens to Mary. Angel comes to Mary, says the same thing, "You're going to conceive and give birth to a son." Mary has a similar question, "But how can this happen? I am a virgin." This is formatted nearly identically to how Zechariah formatted his question. The format of "I don't understand" is completely good. And in response, Mary gets this, an explanation. No punishment, no, you're not going to be able to speak, no sort of reprimand even, just a kind explanation. And Mary responds, "I am the Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come true." And then the angel left her. And so what we see is the formatting here of the question is almost identical. Angel comes in, says, this impossible thing's going to happen to you, and both parties responded the same way. How is this possible, since this is why it looks impossible to me? Both parties do that. The difference we can see here that Mary is confused. How will this happen? I am a virgin, but there's no disbelief here. It's just, I'm the Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come true. And that heart that she has when she asks the question is the reason that nothing wrong happens to her. Whereas Zechariah, it says here, "Since you didn't believe what I said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born." The format of the question is exactly the same. The only difference is what's in their heart. So if you find yourself in this type of situation where God seems like he's asking the impossible of you, there's nothing wrong with expressing confusion to God. There's nothing wrong with saying, "I don't understand." The problem is when you think, this can't happen because it seems impossible to me. Our understanding is so limited, and that's an understanding that Mary had, and Zechariah doesn't seem to. Zechariah seems to think that he has enough understanding to deem it impossible, whereas Mary, while she doesn't understand, she knows that she doesn't have enough understanding to deem it impossible. Know that it's okay to be confused. It's okay to ask questions. You just have to draw a line at disbelief. Trust God through your confusion. Trust that He is all-knowing, and you'll be all right.